Welcome, everyone, to IMC's IoT News Desk Live from CES 2023, organized by the IoT MTech Council, or IMC, under the auspices of the Consumer Technology Association, of course. My name is Keith Kreischer. I'm the Executive Director of the IMC, and I hope everyone is staying safe and well in these interesting times. I'll introduce our moderator, my good friend Renaud Paramel, CEO and co-founder of Strategy of Things Group, in just a second. But first, I wanted to provide a quick word about the IMC for those out there that might not know us. I will be brief. The IMC is the largest trade association dedicated to the communications layer in the stack that we call IoT. Our rank and file membership, we call them adopter members, is comprised of 25,000 individual product makers and designers, OEMs, enterprise users, and apps developers that deploy IoT technology in the field. They cover 27 different vertical markets of application. Everything from medical device manufacturing to retail point of sale to transportation to energy and utilities. Roughly 30% of our adopters are based in North America, and the rest are dispersed on every continent. So this is a truly global and eclectic group, an excellent representation of the global IoT sector. The IMC's leadership is comprised of over 30 of the most influential IoT solutions providers. They are IMC sustaining member companies that sit on our board and set direction for the group. These companies provide connectivity services, hardware and software to connect devices in the field. Our mission at the IMC is to accelerate the adoption of IoT technology for the common good by bringing these two groups together. And we look at this session on sustainability as exactly in keeping with that mission. We hope you'll find it compelling and educational. And with that, I'd like to introduce Renaud Paramel, my good friend from Strategy of Things Group. Renaud, take us away.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning, Las Vegas. Welcome to day one of CES 2023. We're super excited to be back here with a wonderful group of panelists. Today's topic that we're going to discuss is IoT brings sustainability to public grids. So let me give you a little bit background on the session itself. Innovative IoT technologies are enabling businesses and communities to execute on a variety of sustainability initiatives. The integration of IoT into home and community solar energy systems helps these systems more effectively manage and stabilize the local grid. IoT sensors help conserve water usage and manage wastewater systems more efficiently. Air quality networks help to mitigate public health risks, enhance traffic planning, and encourage carpooling. This session will explore the ways IoT is making sustainability initiatives more effective. So let me share our agenda for today. Each of our panelists will have a few minutes to talk, introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their respective companies. We will then jump into a series of questions and then talk a little bit more about the topic. Before I introduce our first panelist, let me share a little bit about myself and Strategy of Things, the work we've been doing in IoT. Prior to starting Strategy of Things, I was a VP at Gartner with their consulting practice, and prior to that, I spent a number of years at Accenture and Deloitte providing advisory services to a variety of industries. Strategy of Things is an innovation firm that offers consulting and services in the IoT space. We've been working with smart city clients, communities, and smart buildings for a number of years. We've also been working with a variety of working groups with the public sector, various laboratories, offering our advice and services and so forth. With that, I would like to turn over to our first panelist, Jitender, who's from Telit Centurion, to introduce himself and give us a little bit about your background.
Yep, thank you. So thank you, Renaud, and a Happy New Year to everyone. And thanks for having me on this important panel. So my name is Jitender Vora. I'm the Senior Director of Carrier Relations at Telit Centurion. I'm responsible for continuously keeping our product technology roadmap aligned with all the North America MNOs. So let me touch a little bit about Telit Centurion. I'm sure some of you may be wondering what is our role within the IoT ecosystem, or what we are doing to help our customers connect their devices to the cloud applications. Before I address that, I want you to keep in mind IoT is about connecting the devices at the edge with the cloud application to exchange data back and forth. So at Telit Centurion, we created three main pillars of our offering to help our customers connect their devices to bring all the data back to the cloud applications. The The first pillar is our hardware module business unit. We were born inside the wireless communications module space over 2 decades ago. Then in time, we learned from our customers that whenever they need to send data, they need to do more than just our hardware offering. So they need a cellular data plan. So in order to help those customers, we became an IoT MVNO and opened up our second pillar, which is our MVNO cellular business units. We did this because a large number of customers' biggest issue when it comes to connectivity is deciding which mobile network to use, how do they provision their device, and how do they switch networks when and if necessary. The third pillar is our cloud platform business units. This is the remote management and data orchestration platform. By data, I mean connecting to the devices, monitoring the health of those devices, and also the sensor data. Our platform can help manage the data and also orchestrate the data into the cloud. So to put it simply, the combination of these 3 pillars, the module, the IoT MVNO, and the platform, we want to enable IoT solutions for our customers to make it easy as possible for them to be successful in their digitization projects. So I'm looking forward to the discussion today, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Jitender. Our second panelist with us is Johan Peterson, who's come all the way from Spain, Barcelona. He is the Senior Business Development Director for Ignion, and I believe you have a new role, some more responsibilities. Maybe you can explain that to us. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. My name is Johan Peterson, and as you just mentioned, yeah, I'm from Ignion in Spain. We're the company behind the virtual antenna technology. And at Ignion, I'm in charge of marketing and product management, including business development. And the virtual antenna technology is something that we often get the question, what is the virtual antenna? And basically what we are all about is making IoT device development easy. So when you're building a new IoT device, you need the connectivity piece, where maybe
a module from Telit, and then you need the antenna piece, and that is where we come into the picture. The antenna integration has historically been quite a big challenge, and we are taking on that challenge, making it easy for anybody to build an IoT device with great RF performance. And we do that through these unique, you see these red parts, it's the same color as my t-shirt, and you can see them down in our booth. We have the virtual antenna components that are non-resonant when you get them out of the box. What you do when you put them on your IoT device, you can tune them to whatever frequency, whatever wireless technology and band that you need. And this means that you can use the same antenna for any device, for any type of wireless technology. And in order to design this, we have developed a quite unique tool called the Antenna Intelligence Cloud, where you are basically designing your antenna system digital twin. You make your feasibility study in the digital world before you build your hardware. And this really saves the design journey a lot of efforts. You reduce the iterations of your product development, and basically you are able to make a feasibility study of whether you will have good connectivity in your device before you start building it. So when it comes to sustainability, this is critical, because sustainability is about saving resources, optimizing our resource use in many cases. And in order for us to really democratize the use of IoT in these areas, we need to provide the industry with easy-to-use tools that makes it possible to build great performing devices, because we all know how it feels when you have an IoT device or a wireless device with poor connectivity. That doesn't fly, and if you've been burned a few times, then you start, or I'll try something else, or I don't do anything. So as an industry, it's critical that we come up with ways of making it easy to build solutions, and in particular for the sustainability reasons, because there's so much potential there, but if we don't focus on making it easier, we won't get as far as if we did. So that's my intro speech.
Thank you so much, Johan, and welcome. Our third and last final speaker is Curtis Goen, who's the President Americas at FlowLive. Curtis, please share a little bit about your background. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, first, Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to CES. It's great to be here. Great to see so many people back again. A little bit about FlowLive. We are an IoT connectivity company providing connectivity infrastructure and global connectivity. We're headquartered in the UK with offices around the world, in Europe, in Asia, and in North America. From what we provide in terms of the solutions, we have a fully virtualized core network that we provide, including 5G. We also have a connectivity management platform, a patented smart SIM, and then last but certainly not least, a full BSS stack that is basically a smaller version of some of the bigger BSS solutions you have. So what do we do with that? We take all of those solutions, we package it together with mobile network operator relationships around the world, and we provide what we believe is the first hyper-local global connectivity service. So you may ask, what exactly is hyper-local global connectivity? That is, with a single SIM, anywhere in the world, you have access to more than one network. And then if you need to localize your data path there, we can provide local packet cores in any region that you need. And then on top of that, if you look at further localizing there and needing to complement the cellular coverage, which we'll talk about how that applies to sustainability solutions now, very soon you'll have the ability to provide cellular coverage through our Release 17 NB over satellite solution, which we're really excited about because we see the applications that are there for that. But further looking, if you have a remote solution as well that has very dense concentration of devices, we're able to provide fully private networks as well. And then on top of that, continuing with the localization there, if your devices need to move from local networks to public networks, our patented SIM technology allows that seamless transition between public and private networks to happen. So we'll talk a little bit more as we go through about how that directly applies to sustainability solutions there. I would say we also have a booth just over at 10943A. Feel free to stop by to talk to us if you have any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis, for the introduction and briefing on what FlowLive does. Why don't we get to questions? The first question I have for all of you, and maybe we can start with Jitender. What is driving this renewed interest in sustainability right now? Is it coming from customers? Is it coming from more government entities? Is it coming from a business opportunity? What is driving the new conversation in sustainability? And other panelists, please feel free to add in after Jitender. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. So based upon my experience working on Telit projects, talking to customers, talking to partners, from a business perspective, I think it's safe to say what all of our customers want is from IoT adoption and digitalization is to get a much better return on investment in terms of reduced costs, in terms of increased efficiency, and of course greater productivity. But at the end of the day, for me, the biggest reason driving interest in sustainability, which kind of trumps the business reasons, is really to save our planet. Is about removing CO2 emissions, about improving the efficient use of energy resources to kind of save our planet is really, for me, which kind of trumps the business reason.
Over to you.
Sure. So a lot of customers, or most customers, they don't come to you and say, hey, we want to be more sustainable. They come to you for business reasons. And their business incentive to come with more sustainable solutions have recently been increased a lot, especially in Europe, where you have the energy prices really going through the roof. Here in the US, I think water is another thing that is becoming ever more important, and people are starting to realize they need solutions to do more responsible consumptions. And so those are some of the more recent reasons that we really see a lot of applications within this space increasing. And then on top of that, for quite a few years now, the whole ESG movement, where companies are being requested and by their boards and their investors to come up with sustainable ways of doing business. And we see that when you're doing business where there's requirements for various types of partners, that you need to meet certain sustainability criteria to do business. So overall, this really means an increased demand, not just to greenwash, because we also see some of that, right? But there's actually real demand now, where just a few years ago we didn't see that.
Thank you. Curtis, are you seeing anything different from your customer base in terms of needs on sustainability projects?
Certainly we have. What I will say is kind of what's leading to the growth in IoT and sustainability is really, I'd say it as the evolution of the industry, evolution of the technology. When I first started in this industry almost 20 years ago, the first solution that I saw was a oil and gas application, and it was simply what I would call business efficiency. Rather than having someone go to a pump and check the pump every day, you had the remote checking of that pump. If you look at those efficiencies, now what basically we're seeing is that other industries, other areas are starting to say, how do I get that same type of efficiency, right? So IoT is about, to me, it's about efficiency overall. And it creates certainly some other economic opportunities for companies like ours, but ultimately it's about the efficiency and adding that efficiency to sustainability projects. And the reality is, I think we all realize that we have a limited amount of resources on the planet that we have, and people are looking at how do we better utilize those resources there, looking at solving problems like food insecurity, which are all things that are really tied to sustainability projects.
Thank you, Curtis. So when we talk about the grid, there's various areas where IoT can play a role. Especially when you start looking at utility companies, they have to generate power, they have to transmit that power, then there's a whole distribution element of it. So that's on the utility side. And then when you look at the consumers or customers, they need to monitor and understand their usage. And so there's a lot of moving parts out here. What are some of the type of projects that you guys are seeing that's coming your way? And if you can give an example of one area where you saw some interesting sustainability challenges, that would be great. Maybe you can start with what's happening in Spain.
Yeah, well, we operate globally, so my representation is more global than local. But overall, we see a huge uptake in smart metering projects in Europe, but also in Asia and the US, where both metering of gas, electricity, water, and these are often placed in environments that are hard to reach, in the basement of a building or behind thick walls, and that's where connectivity can be a little challenging. That's why you need a strong cellular connection and you need a strong antenna to actually get there, and that is something that is possible now. But we see a lot of projects there. And then another area is in asset tracking and just optimizing the logistics piece, whether it's container tracking, making sure that we get all the food distributed across the globe, for example, or the use of goods and tools such that we can optimize the usage of whatever asset it is. So all of these asset tracking applications all also have an IoT component in there, and really makes it possible to optimize and not needing to have a huge fleet, but you can reduce the fleet if you optimize the users of it, and that's where IoT really plays a critical role.
Thank you. You mentioned about antennas being, very important in making sure that robust connectivity is available. When you're doing projects, are you seeing a significant retrofitting opportunity right now, or are you seeing more of, hey, we have a new way of extending communication? So, what are the types of projects that you're seeing within the world of sustainability, but within the context of what you said about smart meters? Is it more retrofit versus new design, or what are you seeing in terms of trends?
So we do see a lot of module designs. So where you have a certain connectivity module you can plug into your meter. So by having a modular design, you have the flexibility whether it's you want to use your meter for different wireless technologies. The retrofit. Not so much on the metering side. There are solutions where you can put up and measure things externally, but less so than the new meters. And these are projects that they take quite a while to actually implement them. It's typically on the development for multiple years, and that's why companies making meters, they want to make sure that they are future-proof and ready for whatever communication standards evolvement that there is in the field, and hence they often opt for the modular approach, such that they can switch out if a new technology comes and they want to change the course with the same meter.
Sure. And you also mentioned that you spoke about some of the capabilities of using digital twins in addition to some of the asset tracking and smart metering solutions that you're seeing. How is that helping from a sustainability kind of perspective? Is that giving more visibility, view, or information? Like what are you seeing use cases where that's being put into use?
So the digital twin topic is also very much hyped. So I also just want to make a disclaimer that we see a lot of the use of digital twin. You can add that into basically anything that's digital, right? It's a digital representation of the physical world, and then it becomes a twin. Now, when I talk about digital twins, it's a digital twin of your antenna solution, right? So that is completely different than your digital twin of your meter. So our cloud solution is a development tool making it easy to build IoT devices. But you're right, the digital twins representation of, for example, meters that can then represent your water consumption in a smart way, that is also an important element of it, and then it's more the real digital twin, I would argue.
Sure. So I think that brings about a very important topic, that there's a lot of interplay that's needed between various solutions, various vendors, to truly get to the state where IoT is actually impacting sustainability initiatives. Curtis, maybe you can share a project experience that you have seen where in the sustainability space.
Yeah, certainly. I'll go back to one use case that we're seeing kind of repeatedly, and that's in the utility and metering space. And one thing I'll say is that now more than ever, because of the IoT, adding IoT to this sector, the companies that are running the grids, that are providing the services, have more information than we've ever had. So what we're seeing is vast improvement in the ability of services there, so they know exactly when to produce more energy, what the consumption rates are, and likewise as consumers we know more about our consumption of that energy and how to optimize our consumption and do the right things. Do you wash clothes in the middle of the day or do you wash them at night, right? So we're seeing that across the solutions there. And then I'll say one thing that's really critical to the success of the solution. It really is taking that consultative approach. I've spent 20 plus years in the industry there. I'll tell you, the antenna part is near and dear to me because I've seen hundreds of devices with bad antennas. So I love when we see the technology evolve where companies like Johan's can help customers develop that antenna piece there. So we provide really more consultative type services, knowing people in the industry to bring together that collective part. My colleague there from Core mentioned earlier how many companies it takes to actually bring a solution to market. And knowing those individual experts is really critical, and taking that consultative approach is very, very critical to the overall success of the solutions.
Thank you, Curtis. Jitender, maybe you can highlight a project from your company.
Yeah, I mean, we're also a global company, right? So we have a lot of growth happening with IoT, and I'll give a few examples. One has to do with the wastewater management. So we have customers, I can think of one customer offhand that's using not just our modules, but they're using our connectivity and our platform, like a bundle solution to help them leverage IoT to not waste water, which is a very precious resource. So we're helping customers ensure accurate measurement and reporting wastewater depth rates align with the flow rates, right? That's one project. Another one has to do with smart waste management. So where we have enabled smart IoT solution for our customers that is responsible for emptying garbage containers, out in the parking lot, for example. So now you only need to send, instead of sending those containers or the truck, the people once a week or every other day, you just send it to them when the container is empty and only to the container that needs it. So all of these things are causing a lot more efficiencies, and it's saving a lot of from a business perspective, it's making a big impact.
What are you seeing as some of the challenges to actually go ahead with these sustainability projects, right? So because you have everything from funding, complexity of making sure that everything is integrated, to actually being able to measure whether what you did actually succeeded. So, yes, there's a lot of technical aspects that we have to get resolved. Like you said, we want to make sure that the right sensors have the right antenna, are connecting to the right gateway, are connecting to the right cloud, are connecting to the right data elements, and we're able to see it properly. But there are other challenges. So perhaps we can just talk a little bit about challenges. Are you seeing any specific challenges for these type of projects? Maybe we can start with you, Jitendra.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective and where we sit in the ecosystem, one of the biggest challenges has to do with a slow-moving market, right? It's to do with the very conservative and risk-averse utility, and it's really strongly regulated. So therefore, it's not easy to get new technologies deployed, to continuously roll out new releases. So that's an area we see a big challenges is in the market. There's being really slow to move.
Awesome. So one of the things that we saw in the previous keynote speaking, the speaker was telling us that we often see that to complete an IoT solution, you need 10 different players playing a role in that. And so that's one area where I think as a community, everyone who's in IoT is trying to find a way to seamlessly have clients not have to go through 10 different people and perhaps go through fewer number of folks. How is that playing a role? What are you seeing in terms of, in your space as you, become module providers or software solution providers or antenna solution providers? What role are you seeing in other folks, kind of playing with you to kind of move the solution forward? Maybe Curtis, you can start with your experience.
Yeah, I will say, it's if you keep waking up every day doing something that you learn a lot. So one of the things that we have obviously on the team is we got people with years and years of experience dating back to the beginning before IoT was even MDM and it was just telematics. So one of the things with that experience, we're able to combine a lot of that expertise within our house. So we provide some of the, who do you go after for a module? Who do you look at? Who are the top module manufacturers? What do you need to know about the module? What do you need to know about antenna design? What are the kind of bigger factors of deploying a solution? And I'll tell you the biggest gap that we see when we have a customer at the beginning of a solution, at the middle of a solution, end of the solution that haven't gone through the full process is they don't have the expertise. They have really good engineers that can build singular devices, but they didn't think about the antenna, which is an art to do. So they need to know who's all involved in the ecosystem. So I'll go back to my comment earlier. We're doing a lot of the consultative perspective and having a lot of that we do from in-house, but also knowing the right partners that we need to work with the customer to deliver the solution.
Sure. Jitendra, any experiences from your side on working with partners and other folks to actually deliver the full solution that you want?
Yeah, I mean, so Telit, we're Telit Interior, and we're evolving also. Like I mentioned in my intro, we started off as a module vendor, and then now we introduced the connectivity and then the platform, and now we also have the capability of, doing designs like from a device perspective and also the manufacturing, right? So we're trying to be a more of an end-to-end solution provider. We want to be, the industry expert, and we want to help the customers solve their key problems and not just give them a module, for example. So we're trying to do that in-house, and we're also trying to partner with people out there with proven solutions, going to the chipset vendors. So all that stuff is what we're trying to do to help the customer with their issues and their pain points.
Are you seeing any adoption issues? So, a lot of times, vendors are ready with the solution, funding is available, but then some of these projects don't actually get implemented in a timely manner, not because of technical complexities, but maybe because of other reasons. The broader goal is to move sustainability forward. But what are some of the obstacles that you're seeing that's non-technical and non-integrated to other companies that you're seeing from your experience that we all should probably try to address? Johan?
And this goes for any IoT project, but in particular relevant in sustainability, because you have often applications, devices that are getting deployed somewhere, and when you are deploying something in the physical world, there is always unforeseen challenges, and as this is not new, but people seem to still be too optimistic on their plans with regards to deployment and launch of new products. So thorough feasibility studies where you prototype, really getting those devices as fast into the field to get that exposure to whatever it is, whether if you're mounting a device in a garbage can, we are working with Telit on the same customer basically. Then there's a lot of practical issues, not only IoT specific, but also just practical. And a lot of those issues actually turns out sometimes to be a deal breaker, because if you need to suddenly you need to send a person to do maintenance on this device, and then the whole business case falls apart. So those are some of the like I keep on seeing it over and over, that the feasibility piece, there's too little resources spent on that. And from Ignion's perspective, that's where our cloud solution comes into the picture, that at least that we make sure that you can do the feasibility on the antenna without building a device, and actually making sure that you get on the right path from the start. So that is a critical component I want to highlight.
Sure. Jitendra, any non-technical issues that you have seen?
In terms of challenges from a deployment perspective, I mean, it's the same thing. I think people, like I mentioned before, they're very risk adverse. They need more time to kind of have more pilots and proven examples kind of roll out, so their confidence level grows, right? I think that's what's kind of happening with the utilities and the IoT. You're seeing some of these utility companies, taking the lead. But others are kind of watching to make sure, they're very risk adverse right now. So they want to, see that and see it be successful, have the business cases, proven before they jump in the water. It's kind of what's happening.
So one question I have for you guys is, as you incorporate and deploy some of your solutions to your client base, are you seeing any need for? So so Curtis, you mentioned about the consultative project approach, where you have to really sit down with the client and explain a few of these things to the client. Are you seeing a need for more of these type of consultative prototyping efforts before someone can actually start experimenting with either scaling or production type? So we have heard the concept of innovation labs and innovation experiments and prototyping and piloting often in this space, but it's been going back and forth. It takes some attention for a while and it goes away. So are you seeing that kind of a need to be able to have clients get engaged a little bit more in a space like this? Curtis?
Yeah, certainly seeing a need, and I'll say what I think the number one non-technical challenge is preparing for scale. Many of the customers, if you take the utility space, they have 1 million meters out today, but having 1 million meters that are connected now you have a completely different scale problem that you need to deal with, and resources behind that to align with that. So we're seeing that come across very commonly there. And that's why you need to have those early proof of concept sessions, so you understand what you need to do day to day to manage a smaller subset. What does it take to do 1,000 devices, and how is that going to scale up when we have a full 10 million devices that are deployed? That scalability piece is extremely important to understand.
Anything to add, Johan or Jitendra?
I mean, I was just gonna add one thing is, yeah, I mean, people are getting access to a lot of data, but how do they leverage that, and how do they refine the processes, right? Kind of what he's going after too. Yeah. It's really, that's where the challenge is going to be. In order to mass scale all the processes, and is doing that is what's the challenge is going to be, non-technical.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Let me just add that in all of this, what is key is partnerships, right? And then that is where we as an IoT ecosystem, us working closer together, enables us to guide and make sure that the ones who deploy all these IoT solutions don't fail, right? And the closer we collaborate, the higher the success rate.
Absolutely, absolutely. So another question I was going to ask was, if you are pursuing sustainability projects, is there a need for kind of tapping in maybe government help or public sector help into some of these areas? Because I feel as a private sector, it's not always possible to put a significant amount of attention to sustainability. While it's a good cause and a good intention there, economic and other benefits tend to be more priority. So is there a need to kind of tap into perhaps public sector or other agencies to kind of co-partner with some of these initiatives? Jitendra?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. That's going to help expedite everything. For example, partnership with the MNOs is very critical because, private networks, in the space, they're going to need to leverage some of the coverage of the MNO until deployments are kind of rolled out. So there has to be some public-private partnerships from that perspective, and then also government funding. Yeah, people don't have the money to kind of mass deploy. So I think, what the government's doing is going to help expedite this whole journey that we're going into right now. So that's going to help.
Fantastic. Johan, any observations from your perspective? Are you seeing any trends where public sector or government entities are being partnered with for some of these initiatives?
Well, we in Europe we see a lot of funding going towards sustainability-oriented projects, where a lot of businesses are then being incentivized to bet on some of these more risky projects. So we have a lot of customers who are maybe being incentivized a little bit more than they would be through these programs, which we only see more and more of these coming, right? So that would be like my key comment on it. Yeah.
Fantastic. We're getting close to our time here, so I wanted to ask each of you to kind of give a little bit perspective of your perspective on what do we need to do to continue along this journey so that we increase adoption for IoT, we increase more focus on sustainability type of projects, and what would you like to see as a community that everyone is trying to do? So maybe we can start with you, Curtis.
Yeah. I'll go back to what I said is the consultative approach. I think it's important that we have relationships with different people around the ecosystem, and that anyone that is engaging, embarking on a project like this, we come in with the perspective of we want to understand what you're trying to accomplish. Once we understand the end game, then we start to work backward there and work on the relationships and putting the right relationships in place, preparing for those things like scale, antenna design, right module selection, coverage issues there, making sure that we're checking all of the boxes there and lending our expertise to the solution where they otherwise don't have that expertise.
Thank you. Over to Johan.
Sure. So overall, I would motivate companies to bet on sustainability. We have previously seen that, well, the money was not completely there yet, and then boom, energy crisis, and then the money is really there. So if you take the risk a little bit, I do believe that in the future, the money side of sustainability will also become even bigger. And then use the technologies in a smart way. For example, we have a partner, a customer of ours called Sodak. They have an asset tracking platform where that's based on cellular technology, but to keep on the cellular radio requires a lot of battery power. So what they've done is they are leveraging the antenna in a smart way, where they're able to beam up with a low power signal that then turns on the cellular piece of the communication when it's ready, and thus saving a lot of power. So using the technologies in a smart way, and then I used many years ago. I worked a lot in the area of energy harvesting, and we see now, also from Ignion's point of view, our antennas are being used more and more in devices that are also powered by energy harvesting, whether it's solar, thermal, kinetic, or even RF energy. And this is an area that is now mature enough. The bill of materials is competitive. And that is something that I would recommend anybody building a new type of device to at least evaluate the potential of energy harvesting in their device.
Well said. Thank you, Johan. Over to you, Jitendra.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at Telit and Terrion, we kind of remain committed to this whole new journey here. We want to be a pioneer in this space like we've done everywhere else for the last 20 years. Our goal is to be like the other panelists said, we want to continue to be a trusted advisor to help all the stakeholders in the larger value chain, including the end customers, so everyone understands the enormous benefits that IoT can give, right? So this is what we're trying to do. Partner with the right folks, show success stories, and just make it expedite, make things go faster.
Thank you very much. Panelists, thank you so much for your time today. You shared some wonderful insights from your experience, and thank you for sharing that. I think overall, IoT adoption still has a long way to kind of go, and I think we as a community, we need to continue making folks aware of what is the easy way to kind of simplify this? How do we make this easy for folks to kind of understand and move forward? So we have a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I think I'm always excited to see more and more forward movement in this space. So thank you very much for your time and for your effort here, and this today. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.